You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, certified life coach, pain to power mentor, and creator of Embody You Mindset Mastery School. I'm here today to discuss living life after disease, disaster, or adversity, to discuss living life fully once again, a life of hope, peace, and resiliency, a life fully embodied. I utilize the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to the life of your dreams, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. Welcome. So today I want to talk about self-helping and how self-helping can sometimes be detrimental as opposed to helpful. And what I mean by that is so many books are out there right now, so many different styles of self-help, self-improvement, change, let's be better, And so many of them do so much of a disservice to the people because we have this belief after reading these books that we need to get to some cliff mount. We need to get to some top of the mountain. And the top of the mountain just never comes. You know, you try and you try and you try and you get to you get what feels like maybe close to the mountain and a small setback, and you're like, oh no, that's not the top of the mountain yet. I still haven't made it. and I think that so often these well-intentioned books can become this place of self-harm as opposed to growth and expansion. So to give you a little bit of an example, I have been an avid self-helper for, I want to say like close to 12 years or something like that. And I have read every book that has ever existed and listened to a ton of podcasts and so much YouTube. Pretty much anything that I can get my hands on that has to do with growth, expansion, change, all that. I'm always into it. I'm first in line. And, you know, when I first started, it was this curiosity of like, what is this law of attraction stuff? And like, what is all of this quantum stuff and all those sorts of things, and quickly became such a beautiful rabbit hole. And I dove and I loved it. And it was like crack to me. I just couldn't put the books down. And what I found was there was a period of time of rapid growth. I just became bigger and better and so much closer to my higher self and all of those sorts of things. And then there was this weird dip for a couple of years that I just felt like I was on this hamster wheel. Like I was in this grind of just, finish the book, next book, finish the book, next book. And over and over and over again, I just felt like I wasn't arriving. Like all these amazing authors who had these amazing moments, these breakthroughs, these, big events were happening. And then they were becoming this like amazing guru who was writing a book. And I wanted to be that amazing guru, but I was just not having my breakthrough. And what started off as really well-intentioned curiosity became a way to just to put myself down over and over again. Like I would be like, well, if I was just better, then I wouldn't have had that rough night, or I wouldn't have been jealous of that person, or I wouldn't have been self-conscious about my body or whatever else, whatever bullshit that was. And, I just couldn't arrive, is what I'm trying to say. And fast forward to my cancer, and everyone just kept telling me, like all the cancer survivors kept telling me, it's all about self-compassion, Christine. It's all about, what do you need right now in order to get through this? And that was such a revolutionary thought to me because all of these books tell me, when you have a thought, make sure you do this, and, basically mitigate the negativity by growing. And so this whole idea of compassion was a hell no. It was so foreign. I was not interested. And as my disease progressed and my treatments progressed, I found that the best thing for me to get through all of this pain wasn't all the things that I learned in my self-help books. It was instead this foreign concept of just being where I need to be when I need to be there. And I'm not saying that these books didn't aid in everywhere that I was, because they truly, truly did in my treatments. I needed what I learned to get through it. But there was always a piece missing, and that was that compassion piece. And what I'm finding now is, going back to these self-help books, is that, and I've gone back now because I will never stop learning, and I love growing, is that I'm coming at it from a totally different perspective. Less of a perspective of like, am I enough? Or, someday when I get to the top of that mountain, to that crest. Instead, it's more of, how can I feel expansion because of this in the place that I am now? And that is such a razor's edge, you guys, that is so hard to factor through the difference between trying to gobble up this information so that you can be better, and instead trying to gobble up this information so that the current you can be served in a way that is reframed from I'm not enough to instead I am so enough that I deserve these tools to be added to my luxurious life. And they sound the same, but they're so, so different. And I think that that's a main point that I want to drive here in my job, my career, my life purpose of helping other people. And what that point is that you just are enough. And you are enough, and you are enough. And I'm trying to count the amount of people in your car or house or whatever else. And I'm saying you are enough, and I'm pointing, and then you are enough, and then I'm pointing, and then you are enough. Because I have not come from that place for the entire 12 years of self-helping. I'll tell you that much. I am now, but I hadn't been. And I just think that these books and all of these things and these podcasts and all of these things, they can be so, so powerful for growth. They can be so much of a tool to add to your toolbox. The main thing is, though, is that you can't forget it's you holding the toolbox. It's not that you need to become this super chill hippie, that's just so happy and nothing phases her. Because if that's the crest of the mountain, then I'm so far from that. Because lots phases me. And yet I have all these certifications telling me that they shouldn't. And the only difference is that I have tools. I have tools now in my toolbox to be able to say, oh, this emotion, what am I going to do with it? And that's what self-help should be, as opposed to driving to get to this finish line. And I think that that's a disservice that a lot of these authors forget to include. Either that or I just didn't hear it, which is also very, very possible. Is this point of, here's my book, here's what I can teach you, but there's a you in there that still needs to be honored, if that makes any sense. So this is the work. This is what I am here to drive home for you. Is that self-compassion and self-growth and bad days and good days and winning and losing and all of these things that we label are all part of the integration. You cannot and will not get to the point where you no longer feel sadness or discomfort or anything like that. It's not possible. And if it is, I want what she's having because I've not found it. And I, like I said, have spent far more than 10,000 hours studying self-help. And I'm not done either. I'll never stop. Just because I love self-help doesn't mean that I'm not perfect for explaining to you why self-help can become a hamster wheel. And it can become a crutch for why you are not living your full life. Everything can be in excess. So we go back to balance. Maybe in between all of these self-help books, throw in a novel. Or between all these podcasts, throw in a rest day. Or some music instead of a podcast while you're driving. Because there is so much value in the integration of both. And a lot of the people listening to this will not resonate with what I'm saying at all because they're not self-helpers. That's not something that is in their repertoire. And to them, I would say expand past yourself and find some discomfort. Push yourself out of your boundaries and do instead learn some self-help. Self-help itself is not inherently bad. It is instead inherently very good. All of these books are well-intentioned, and every single time I finish one, I feel on fire, and I want to learn and learn and learn and learn. But do know where the line is. And this can cross over to literally anything. Where's this line that we all cross over, step over, jump over, javelin over? I definitely javelined over. I don't know, I think it was 2017 where I didn't do anything except for read self-help books and do juice cleanses. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not balance. Not at all. But I digress. We can find balance, you guys. You can find it. But you do have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. You do have to pick up the self-help book. You do have to grow. And whether that's a book or whether that's a relationship that pushes you or a boss that pushes you or, a religion that gives you different mindset or you name it. As long as something is pushing and and pushing you out of your comfort zone to the place where you are thinking different and learning. Travel is an awesome self-help tool because it pushes you out of your comfort zone and you become so much closer to just new thoughts. And that's huge. So I'm not an advocate for not self-helping. I am instead an advocate for finding the balance between self-help and self-love, self-harm, and doing way too much to criticize, to the point where you're criticizing yourself. I want to find the balance so that you feel like that you are enough, all while still searching and growing and believing and having faith in all of these different things. It's so important. And that is the integration of all things. You know, all things, whether it's jealousy and discomfort or anger, there is a place for that. There is a really useful place for that. And then there's love, acceptance, and kindness, compassion, places for those things too. And all of those things are all part of it. If you listen to my last episode, we talk about this a lot. It's called Good, Bad, Who Knows? And that's what it is that the self-help, you know, there is a point where it stops feeling expansive. And instead, you start to feel contracted by this constant need to arrive. So, if you're not self-helping, find a way to push yourself out of your comfort zone. If you're self-helping, check yourself. Ask yourself if you are overdoing it or not. If you are to the point where it feels more like a grind and a hamster wheel than anything else. And then from there, make some adjustments. It's as simple as that. So I hope that this has been enlightening and helpful, and maybe a little bit controversial, because there are people in the not self-help world who are like, oh my God, the self-helpers. And then there's people in the self-help world who have all the judgment for the people who are just living their lives. And I'm going to tell you now that both of them in excess are bad. Okay? So let's just find some balance. I hope that everyone is having an amazing day and that you found this episode helpful. And remember that if you did find expansion with this episode, feel free to take a quick screenshot of the episode, tag me and yourself, post it to your story. And if I see it, so if you don't tag me, I don't see it, tag me and yourself. And if I see it, then I'm going to pop you into a draw for a monthly authentic Live Free Wellness jewelry piece. That way we can get the word out and you can get some sweet swag. So have an amazing day, everybody. All the love to you. Here it is raining, so I'm going to comfy up and I'm going to watch a movie about fantastical things, and I'm not going to learn a single thing. That's my plan tonight. So much love, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you found expansion with this last episode, then that means that others will too. And the best way to get the word out about the podcast is by leaving a review. I would be so grateful if you could leave me a review and let me know how you felt about the podcast. Included in the show notes will be everything that we talked about today, including all of my transformative programs. Change is just on the horizon, my friend.